Hi, Craig Turner here with John Finger, attorney at law here in Colorado Springs. John is a real estate attorney. He's here today to talk about leases and evictions. So John, tell us about leases and evictions in Colorado and El Paso, Teller County. El Paso, Pueblo County.
Pueblo County, sure. Well, what you want to make sure of is that the lease that you've got is a good one for Colorado. Don't go down to the office supply store and pick up one there because they don't have provisions that you need for Colorado-based leases. Craig and I were talking earlier, you've got things like lead-based paint, and you've got carbon monoxide detectors, and a few other things that have to go into a lease, and most people don't put them in. And those are very important provisions, and you've got plenty of others.
Yes, I'd agree.
Yeah. So make sure you got a valid lease. Go to an attorney, get it done right once, and then you can simply duplicate it for other leases that you've got after that time.
Okay. What else do you need to know about lease agreements and the eviction process at the same time?
Well, okay, make sure you have a proper lease, and your attorney's going to need a copy of that lease when you do the eviction process. The first thing you're going to do if you have a problem with people paying rent, and they typically just don't pay the money. That's like 95% of the cases. They don't pay their rent. So you need a demand form, and this is a demand form. It's JDF 101. That's the name of the form. You can even pick this up off the internet, the court-based forms. And you can fill that out, and the landlord can serve that themselves. Assuming the tenant does not comply with it, that's when you need to get an attorney involved, because then you have to do court papers, a summons, complaint, an answer. You also have proof of services and all that stuff, and that's when you want to get an attorney involved in the eviction process itself.
Okay.
Once the eviction is filed, then the procedure depends on the county that you're in. El Paso and Pueblo have different procedures about how it's done. El Paso, for instance, there's a return of service date, but there's no judge at that return of service date.
Just a bunch of clerks, right?
Just a bunch of clerks sitting around. You say, well, where's the organization? Where's the person in the black robe? They're not here. And they're not at the return of service date in El Paso County, whereas in Pueblo, that goes in front of a judge, and it's done right there.
Okay. And how long does this process typically take, John?
Typically, it'll take maybe 5 weeks to 6 weeks if you have somebody who plays all the way with you. If you're able to get a judgment against somebody, then they have 48 business hours to leave the property.
Okay.
And the judge is going to tell them that after the hearing, assuming they've not filed an answer or whatever, then they have 48 business hours. And then at the end of that 48 business hours, you're able to get a form called a writ of restitution. You take that over to the sheriff's office, you pay the sheriff a large fee, and the sheriff will manage the people, and you've got to hire your own crew to manage the property, to move them out, right?
Okay.
So there's different aspects of what's done there. The sheriff does not move any property. Keep that in mind.
He just makes sure you don't get shot if they walk out with a shotgun.
Yeah, it would be, yes. That's very advisable. Don't do this on your own. You need to have help when you get all this done. But it is doable, and I'm more than willing to help people out on both sides of the aisle. I've done mostly landlord representation because I'm a landlord myself.
Okay.
But there are tenants who also I've represented.
And there's always times where landlords don't do things right. So.
That's right. They do.
So John, if somebody wanted to find you to get you to help them with an eviction or some other real estate problem, how do they find you?
Well, first is by phone, 719-499-8056. And also by email, which Craig will tell you because Craig's got it memorized.
I fought the law and won at gmail.com.
Well, thank you for watching, and we look forward to handling it for you too.
All right. Thank you very much. Craig Turner here with Financial Strategies Mortgage Services. Give us a call for all of your mortgage needs.